Listen, I need you to understand something before we get started. What I'm about to tell you, what happened on that research station orbiting Earth, it changed everything we thought we knew about the universe. And I mean everything, because when Professor Krix-Valen and her team of Quilathi students decided to study humanity's domesticated animals for their xenobiology thesis, they had absolutely no idea they were about to uncover the most terrifying revelation in galactic history. So buckle up, because this is going to get wild. The Quilathi research vessel Harmonious Inquiry hung in Earth's orbit like a silver crescent moon, its observation decks bristling with sensors pointed at the blue-green planet below. Inside Laboratory 7, Professor Krix-Valen adjusted her ocular implants and surveyed her class of eager graduate students with something approaching maternal pride. Well, as much maternal pride as a species with crystalline exoskeletons and 6 articulated limbs could manage. Today, she announced, her translator rendering her clicks and whistles into flawless galactic standard, we begin our comparative study of Earth's domesticated fauna. Now I know what you're thinking. Why study pets when we could be analyzing humanity's weapons technology or their frankly disturbing cultural obsession with explosions? A rippling laugh moved through the assembled students. Humans and their love affair with things that went boom were legendary across 7-star systems. Krix-Valen's mandibles clicked in amusement. But consider this. A species' choice of companion animals reveals fundamental truths about their psychology, their values, their very nature. The gentle Ploraxians keep singing flowers. The wise Tilovians bond with cloud-dwelling thought-weavers. Surely humanity's pets will illuminate their softer side. Yes. Young Miratone, always the skeptic, raised a questioning appendage. Professor, haven't humans been classified as a Tier 7 Deathworld species? Doesn't that suggest— Yes, Krix-Valen waved a dismissive claw. The Deathworld designation. Frankly, I find that classification to be wildly exaggerated. So their planet has slightly more gravity than standard. So their weather patterns are a bit unpredictable. So their microbial life could theoretically kill most known species within 48 hours. The Galactic Council loves its dramatic categories, doesn't it? She activated the holographic display with a gesture. Now then, let's meet our first subject. According to my research, this is humanity's most popular companion animal. They call it a dog. The hologram shimmered to life, displaying a golden-furred creature with a lolling tongue and bright, eager eyes. It looked harmless. Adorable, even. Several students made cooing sounds. Oh, breathed Vex, Lyra, the class empath. Look at its face. So sweet. So innocent. Indeed, Krix-Valen agreed. Canis lupus familiaris. According to the databanks, humans have lived alongside these creatures for approximately 15,000 of their years. They're described as loyal, affectionate, and, she squinted at her notes, good boys, though I'm uncertain of the gender implications there. Jacques Morin, who specialized in evolutionary biology, leaned forward with interest. Professor, may I access the genetic database? I'd like to trace this creature's lineage. Of course. Of course. Krix-Valen nodded approvingly. Nothing pleased her more than students showing initiative. Jacques Morin's fingers danced across his data tablet, then froze, then frantically typed some more. His skin began shifting through colors that Krix-Valen recognized as deep confusion mixed with rising alarm. Professor, his voice had gone up approximately 3 octaves. There must be some mistake in the database. What kind of mistake? Well, according to this, the dog's direct ancestor is listed as— No, that can't be right. Out with it, Jacques Morin. Canis lupus, the grey wolf. But that doesn't make any sense because the grey wolf is classified as an apex predator, capable of taking down prey 5 times its size through coordinated pack tactics, and— He trailed off, all 6 of his eyes widening simultaneously. Oh no. Oh no, Krix-Valen repeated. What do you mean, oh no? Miratone had pulled up her own data screen and was now making a sound like air escaping from a punctured hull. Professor, I'm looking at historical records of wolf behavior, pack hunting, strategic ambush patterns. bite force of over 400 pounds per square inch. These things were designed to kill large prey animals in Earth's ice age. Now, Krix-Valen said, though her confidence was starting to waver. That was their ancestor. Clearly humans domesticated them, bred out all that aggressive. Professor, Vexlera's voice was shrill. I'm reading an Earth News article about something called a Belgian Malinois. Apparently human military forces use them to hunt down enemy combatants. It says here one of these dogs once parachuted into a combat zone and, she gagged slightly, took down 3 armed soldiers before its handler even arrived. The classroom had gone very quiet. Krix-Valen's mandibles were clicking nervously now. Well, that's concerning, but surely that's just one breed, one specific case. Let's look at their other popular pet, something called a cat. The hologram shifted, displaying a small, fluffy creature with enormous eyes and tiny paws. It was grooming itself with an air of supreme disinterest in the universe around it. The collective sigh of relief from the students was almost palpable. There we go, Krix-Valen said brightly. Now this is more what I expected. Look at it. It's tiny. It's fluffy. It's clearly a creature of comfort and leisure. Felis catus. Says here they spend approximately 16 hours per day sleeping. Finally, muttered Jack Moran, a normal pet. Humans call them kitties and fur babies, rid Vexlera, relaxing visibly. They're beloved for their independence, their playful nature, and everyone turned to look at her. Oh, Krix-Valen prompted wearily. Their hunting instinct. It says here that cats are such efficient hunters that they're classified as an invasive species on multiple Earth continents. They've been responsible for the extinction of 33 separate species of birds and mammals, and, she scrolled frantically, and even domestic cats have a success rate of 32% on hunts, which is higher than most Earth apex predators. Jack Moran's tablet beeped. Ancestor species. Identified. Felis sylvestris libica. The African wildcat. Ambush predator. Retractable claws for climbing and grasping prey. Specialized teeth for severing spinal cords. Spinal cords? Squeaked a student in the back row. And look at this. Miratone had found video footage. The hologram now showed a domestic cat, barely larger than a standard datapad, absolutely demolishing a mechanical toy. Its movements were liquid violence, all coiled muscle and precision strikes. Those reflexes, that predatory focus, this is what they let their children play with? Krix-Valen sat down heavily in her hoverchair. Around her, her students were pulling up more and more data, and each discovery seemed worse than the last. Professor, humans have a phrase. Curiosity killed the cat. Do you know why cats are curious? Why? Because they're investigating potential prey. Professor, look at these statistics on cat-induced injuries to humans. Thousands annually. And humans just accept this. They think it's cute when cats attack their feet. They think it's cute? Krix-Valen held up a claw for silence. The students gradually settled, though they looked like they'd just discovered their favorite dessert was actually made of poison. All right, she said slowly. All right, I can see we've had some misconceptions. But let's think about this rationally. Yes, perhaps humanity's pets have more predatory lineage than we anticipated. But the key word is lineage. These are domesticated animals, thousands of generations removed from their wild ancestors. Surely modern dogs and cats are nothing like those ancient hunters, correct? She pulled up a new video file, labeled compilation, pets being adorable. The hologram showed a large dog, some kind of retriever breed, playing with a human child in a grassy yard. The dog's tail wagged furiously as it gently mouthed a ball, carefully avoiding the child's fingers. See, Krix-Valen said triumphantly. Gentle, loving. This dog could easily harm that small human, but instead it's being careful and the video changed. Now it showed the same dog, same yard, but a stranger had entered the property. The transformation was instantaneous. The wagging tail went rigid. The playful demeanor evaporated. The dog's entire body language shifted into something that made Krix-Valen's survival instinct scream. It didn't bark, didn't growl. It just locked eyes with the intruder and went very, very still. The stranger wisely backed away slowly. "Threat assessment," whispered Jack Morin. It was performing active threat assessment. "Did you see how quickly it switched modes? Peaceful to combat ready in under a second. And the control," added Narration. "It had the capability to attack but chose not to. That's not just instinct. That's intelligent restraint." Vex Lyra was scrolling through more files, her skin now a disturbing shade of panic purple. "Professor, I found an Earth scientific study. It says that dogs can be trained to detect explosives, track missing persons across hundreds of miles, identify medical conditions like cancer or seizures before they happen, and," she swallowed hard, "and execute complex military operations with minimal direction from handlers." "That's not a pet," someone muttered. "That's a biological warfare platform." The video compilation continued. Now it showed a cat, seemingly asleep on a couch. A robotic vacuum cleaner, one of those automated cleaning devices humans loved, rounded the corner and approached. The cat's eyes snapped open. What followed was 3 seconds of such precise, calculated violence that several students gasped. The cat went from horizontal to airborne, executed what could only be described as a combat role, struck the vacuum cleaner 17 times with alternating paws, determined it was not a threat, and returned to the exact same sleeping position. Total elapsed time 4.2 seconds. "By the 7 moons, breathed Krix-Valen. "Did that creature just perform a threat evaluation faster than our military-grade sensors?" "Yes," confirmed Jack Morin, faintly. "Yes, it did." Krix-Valen stood up from her hover chair, all 6 of her limbs trembling slightly. Around her, the laboratory had descended into controlled chaos. Students were frantically pulling up data files, cross-referencing genetic databases, and making increasingly alarmed, chittering sounds. "Everyone, please," she called out, trying to restore some semblance of academic order. "Let us approach this scientifically. Yes, we have discovered that humanity's companion animals have somewhat more impressive capabilities than initially anticipated. But we are xenobiologists. We do not panic. We analyze." "Professor," Vex Lyra's voice was hollow, "I think you need to see this." The empath had pulled up a documentary file from Earth's entertainment networks. The title read, "When Animals Attack, Compilation Number 47. "Compilation Number 47? Squeaked Narration. "How many of these do they have?" "According to the database," Jack Morin reported grimly, "approximately 312 separate programs dedicated to animal attacks on humans, and that is just from the last 5 Earth years." "But wait." Krix-Valen grasped at logic like a drowning person reaching for flotation. "If their pets are attacking them regularly, surely this proves they are dangerous and humanity recognizes this, correct?" Vex Lyra started the video. The first clip showed a large dog, identified as a German shepherd, lunging at a human male who had broken into a home. The dog's teeth found purchase on the intruder's arm. The man screamed. The dog held firm until authorities arrived. The second clip showed a cat, barely 8 pounds according to the measurements, absolutely roting a black bear that had wandered into a residential area. The bear, which outweighed the cat by approximately 400 pounds, fled in terror as the tiny feline hissed and swiped at its nose. The third clip showed something called a Jack Russell Terrier, a dog that looked like it weighed maybe 15 pounds soaking wet, holding its ground against a venomous snake to protect a human infant. "Hold on," Krix-Valen interrupted. "Stop the playback. Are you telling me that these animals actively defend their humans against threats? Even threats larger and more dangerous than themselves?" "It appears so, Professor. But that requires," she struggled to process this, "that requires loyalty, abstract reasoning, the ability to recognize threat levels and make split-second decisions about risk versus reward. These are not simple companion animals. These are bonded warrior guardians." Jack Morin had gone very still, his skin cycling through colors that indicated deep, fundamental realization. "Professor, I need to show you something. I have been cross-referencing the genetic databases with the Quilathi historical archives." "The historical archives? What do our records have to do with Earth animals?" "Everything," Professor? Everything. His voice had gone quiet, almost reverent with horror. Do you remember the Quilathi expansion wars? 7,000 years ago, when our ancestors first left our home world and began colonizing nearby systems? Of course. Basic history. What does that have to... We encountered resistance, predators on multiple worlds. It nearly stopped our expansion entirely. The archives describe them: pack hunters, efficient killers, coordinated attack patterns, apex predators that our ancestors struggled to defend against. Krix-Valen felt her internal temperature drop. Jack Morin, what are you saying? He pulled up a comparative hologram. On one side, an ancient Quilathi artistic rendering of the predators their ancestors had faced. On the other side, a modern Earth wolf. They were identical. No, Krix-Valen whispered, that is impossible. Convergent evolution perhaps, but... It gets worse, Professor. Jack Morin's voice was shaking now. I cross-referenced with Teluvian archives, Plaraxian records, even the ancient databases from the extinct Wildcat civilization. Do you know what I found? The hologram expanded, showing predator species from a dozen different worlds, different time periods, different sectors of the galaxy. Canines, felines, pack hunters and ambush predators, all bearing striking similarities to Earth animals. These species, Jack Morin continued, were seeded across the galaxy millions of years ago by the Precursor civilizations. The ones who came before us all. They were part of a grand experiment in parallel evolution. Most of them died out or were hunted to extinction by emerging civilizations who feared them. But on Earth, Miratone picked up the thread, her voice awed. On Earth, they survived. And not only survived, but thrived. And then humanity, instead of hunting them to extinction like every other sentient species, they made friends with them, finished Vex Lyra. The silence in the laboratory was absolute. Krix-Valen's mind was racing through implications, each one more disturbing than the last. So you are telling me that humanity, a species from a Tier 7 death world, looked at the same predators that terrified our ancestors and countless other civilizations, predators specifically designed to be the ultimate hunters, and their response was to say, come live in our homes and sleep in our beds. Not just that, Professor. Jack Morin pulled up more files. They selectively bred them, made them better. Faster dogs for hunting, stronger dogs for protection, more aggressive dogs for warfare. They took apex predators and optimized them. A new video began playing, this one showing various dog breeds. Tiny Chihuahuas, massive Great Danes, sleek Greyhounds, muscular Rottweilers. All of these, Jack Morin explained, are the same species. Humanity shaped them my clay, creating specialized variants for every conceivable purpose. Hunting dogs, herding dogs, guard dogs, rescue dogs. Dogs bred specifically to fight other dogs, and they did all of this in less than 15,000 years. That is terrifying, someone whispered from the back of the class. Oh, it gets better, Miratone said with the kind of hysteria that suggested nothing was actually better at all. I found the employment statistics. On Earth right now, there are approximately 900 million dogs and 600 million cats living in human homes. That is more than the entire population of most galactic civilizations. Humanity has created a standing army of biological weapons that vastly outnumbers them, and they share their food with them. Vex Lyra pulled up another file. And look at this. Human children. The data shows that children raised with dogs have better immune systems, better social skills, lower stress levels, and higher empathy markers. Humanity is using predators to teach their young compassion. That does not make any sense. Krix-Valen's voice had risen to something approaching a shriek. Predators do not teach compassion. That is backwards. That is the opposite of logical evolutionary behavior. Unless, Jack Morin said slowly, unless humanity understands something about these animals that we do not. Something fundamental. He pulled up a new series of videos. These were different, quieter. They showed dogs greeting soldiers returning from war, their entire bodies vibrating with joy. Cats curling up next to sick children in hospitals, purring steadily. An old human, clearly in the final stages of life, holding a dog's paw while the animal gazed at them with what could only be described as love. The relationship is symbiotic, Vex Lyra said softly, her empathic abilities clearly picking up on the emotions in the videos. The humans provide food, shelter, safety. The animals provide protection, companionship and unconditional loyalty. But it is more than that. There is genuine affection here. Genuine bonding. Krix-Valen sat down again, feeling like her entire understanding of the universe had been yanked out from under her. So let me understand this completely. Humanity lives on a death world where everything is trying to kill everything else. Their planet has weather patterns that could obliterate most civilizations. Their gravity would crush a Pluraxian. Their microbial life is a biological horror show. And in this environment, they befriended the apex predators. Not just befriended them, but brought them into their families, made them part of their social structure. And these predators, these hunters that terrorized our ancestors, responded with loyalty and love. Yes, Professor. All three of her lead students answered in unison. And humanity does not see anything unusual about this arrangement? Jack Moran pulled up a human quote from an entertainment program. A small human child was being interviewed about her dog, a massive beast called a Saint Bernard that outweighed her by approximately 150 pounds. This is my best friend, the child said, hugging the enormous animal without a trace of fear. He keeps me safe and loves me forever and ever. The dog, this creature bred from wolves that had once hunted megafauna across ice sheets, gently licked the child's face and made a sound that could only be described as utterly content. Krix-Valen felt something shift in her understanding. She pulled up the complete Earth database, searching for specific information. Computer, show me human military units that employ dogs. The results were staggering. Special forces teams across every human military branch, police units, search and rescue operations, border protection, explosive detection, tracking, assault operations. Now show me civilian applications. Therapy, animals, service dogs for the disabled, emotional support animals, dogs that detected seizures, cancer, low blood sugar in diabetics, cats that provided comfort in nursing homes and hospitals, and finally show me the human emotional response to loss of these animals. The files that appeared were filled with tears, memorial services, and expressions of grief that matched the intensity humans showed for their own species. By all the stars in the void, Krix-Valen whispered, they do not just keep predators as pets, they love them as family, and these predators love them back with such intensity that they will die to protect them. Mirrortone pulled up one final video. It showed a dog, an older German shepherd, with graying fur, standing guard over a wounded human soldier in a combat zone. The dog had been injured, bleeding from multiple wounds, but refused to leave the soldier's side. When rescue arrived, the dog had to be carried away because it would not abandon its human even to save its own life. The human soldier, once recovered, adopted that dog and they lived together for another 8 years. This is what we are dealing with, Krix-Valen said, her voice steady now despite her racing thoughts. A species that turns apex predators into family members. A species that inspires loyalty so deep that creatures designed to kill will die to protect them instead. A species that looks at the things that terrified civilizations across the galaxy and says, you are a good boy, yes you are. Jack Moran cleared his throat. Professor, there is one more thing. I found records of humanity's introduction to the Galactic Council. Do you know what the initial contact team reported? What? When the diplomatic team arrived on Earth, they were greeted by human representatives. According to the report, several of the humans had dogs with them. Just sitting there. At a first contact scenario, the Galactic Council's initial assessment team was terrified. They filed a complaint about humanity bringing weapons to a peaceful negotiation. And how did humanity respond? They were confused. According to the transcripts, the human ambassador said, and I quote, "These are not weapons. These are our friends. We thought you would like to meet them." One of the dogs apparently tried to make friends with the Teluvian ambassador by bringing him a ball. Despite everything, Despite the existential terror of the last hour, Krix-Valen felt a laugh building in her thorax. It emerged as a chittering hiccup. Humanity brought their tame apex predators to first contact because they thought we would enjoy meeting them. Yes, Professor. And the predators tried to engage in play behavior with our diplomats. Yes, Professor. The laugh built until Krix-Valen was shaking with it, though whether it was actual humor or hysteria, she could not quite tell. Around her, students began joining in, the tension of the last hour releasing in waves of slightly unhinged laughter. When she finally recovered, Krix-Valen wiped her ocular senses and addressed her class. All right. Here is what we have learned today. Humanity is a species that lives on a death world and has turned the planet's apex predators into beloved family members. They have weaponized friendship. They have created a bond with creatures that should, by all logical assessment, be their enemies. And these creatures respond with loyalty beyond anything we have documented in any other species relationship. She paused, letting that sink in. And here is what that tells us about humanity. They are not dangerous because they are aggressive. They are dangerous because they can inspire loyalty in the universe's most effective killers. They are dangerous because they look at something terrifying and see potential for friendship. They are dangerous because they are perhaps the only species in the galaxy insane enough, brave enough, or compassionate enough to make that choice. Vex Lyra raised a trembling appendage. Professor, what do we put in our thesis report? Krix-Valen considered this carefully. We tell the truth. We tell the Galactic Council that humanity's choice of companion animals reveals exactly what we should have expected. They are a species of contradictions. Fierce and gentle, logical and emotional, powerful enough to tame predators and kind enough to love them. She looked around at her students, seeing her own mix of terror and admiration reflected in their faces. And we recommend, she continued slowly, that any species considering conflict with humanity should first consider this fact. If humanity can turn wolves and wildcats into loyal companions, imagine what they could do with an enemy. Better to be humanity's friend and to find out what happens when you become their problem. The class sat in silence, absorbing this. Finally, Jack Morin spoke up. Professor, I believe I need to change my thesis topic. Oh? To what? I am calling it Why Humanity's Best Friends Are Everyone Else's Worst Nightmare, and what that says about humans. Krix-Valen's mandibles clicked in approval. That, my student, is a thesis I very much look forward to reading. As the class filed out, still chattering nervously among themselves, Krix-Valen remained at her observation station, looking down at the blue-green planet below. Somewhere down there, hundreds of millions of humans were coming home to be greeted by animals that evolution had designed to hunt, to kill, to dominate. And those animals were wagging their tails in pure joy. Insane, Krix-Valen murmured to herself. Absolutely insane. And somehow it works. She made a note in her personal log. Cancel proposed field trip to Earth's surface. Recommend minimum safe distance for observation. Orbital altitude. Do not approach the humans, good boys and good girls, without proper protective equipment, and several emergency extraction plans. Also, she added as an afterthought, request transfer of human entertainment files titled All Dogs Go to Heaven and Cats, the musical. If we are going to study this species, we might as well try to understand their inexplicable affection for their domesticated predators. The answer to understanding humanity, she realized, was not in their weapons, or their technology, or their impressive adaptation to their death world. It was in the fact that they had looked at the galaxy's most terrifying hunters and said, "Come here, let me scratch behind your ears, you adorable creature." And somehow, impossibly, it had worked.